So I've completed my chain. I'm asking students to do 20 stitches. So it's 20 stitches. It's pretty much this is 1, that's 2, that's 3, and so forth all the way up here until we get to 20. I did add on 3 more stitches because the reason I'm doing that is when we double crochet, we need to be bending the yarn like this, and we need to make up for the room that's being taken up here. If we don't do that, the yarn tends to get very tight. It also bends a lot then, and it doesn't actually make a square. So I've added 3 more stitches, extra ones. So here's 1, 2, 3, and then I have my loop. So I'm going to attempt to double crochet left-handed. It should work just fine. My loop's fairly large because I need to show how the yarn goes through the loop and everything. And just to kind of remind everyone, I'm going to be going through this stitch right here. So technically my needle should be going through here, but stitch number 3, okay? So once again, holding the yarn, so fingers up, hanging on here, and you can do it this way again. I tend to do it this way because I'm right-handed. So I want to loop a piece of yarn, then find my 3rd stitch, so 1, 2, 3, and put my needle through the 3rd stitch. So 1, 2, 3, right in here. And technically now, I have 1, 2, 3 loops on my needle. Alrighty? Now, we're going to loop the yarn around here again and bring it through just this stitch right here. Okay? And it's through. And again, we have 3, little thing here that needs to go over to. Again, we have 3 loops. We have 1, 2, 3 loops there now. So again, holding it properly. I now need to do another loop like that around the yarn or the needle, and I need to bring it through these 2. Alrighty? And now I was having troubles doing this earlier, so there's loop 1, and I gotta bring it through loop 2. Loop 2. Alright? And now I have 2 loops. Now I'm gonna do the same thing. Yarn goes around the needle, and I bring it through both loops. Alrighty. And it's a little tight. So I'm gonna just loosen it up a bit by pulling the needle. So, loosen up a bit more. So there's 1 loop and my 2nd loop. And I should be able to adjust the yarn, and I can't because I have 1 strand that hasn't made it over. So students will find when they're having troubles at making the loop bigger or smaller, and if it doesn't work, it usually is because there's a strand that should not be where it is. And it will come over eventually. There we go. And look, I can extend my loop now. So we'll do another double crochet. So just to go back here, originally this is what it's going to look like, and this is where all the extensions are being added. So now, even though I went through, there was the 3 stitches. Now, what I tell students is when you kind of stretch it out, you see where the hole is. That means you're not going through that hole, but you're going through the hole next door to it. So when you extend it out, there's the hole right there. That means we need to be going through this hole right here now. So we're not counting to 3 anymore, we're just going next door. Alrighty, so let's do this one more time. So once again, just formation for me, just because I'm not left-handed, to make sure I'm doing it right. So yarn, and if you're looking carefully, so that's where the hole is, so that means I go through this one right here. So right next door to it. And once again, I'm not left-handed, so it makes it harder. And I'm kind of through the piece, but look, you can see that I'm not fully through it because you can see where my needle is, but there's a yarn on the piece, a thread on the other side. So that piece of thread has to go over. Just go over. Now there's just 1 piece of thread, and that has to go over. Usually you shouldn't use your fingers doing this, but like I said, I'm not left-handed, so it makes it harder. And we have 3 loops on the needle. See? 1, 2, 3. Alright. So proper formation again with the yarn, and there we go. So I need to bring this yarn through the first loop only, and I have only 1, 2, 3 loops there too. Now the next loop, bring it through, and it's tight there, which tells me I need to extend it out a bit more. There we go. And it goes through one loop. It has to go through the second loop. And we have 2 loops now. And I just pull the yarn through it to make the loop a little wider. And now I'm going to go through 2. So there's 1 and there's 2. And we're double crocheting. And if we look carefully, you will see how it's building on it. And you can see it that way. So this time, one more time, you stretch it out, you see where the hole is, there's the hole right there. That means I need to go to the next door, which is right in here, to do the next double crochet. And we can do it one more time. So proper formation of your fingers. So you can loop it this way, or you can loop it this way. Doesn't matter which way you're looping it, but it needs a loop on there. And it's going through the next door. And I'm having troubles doing it. Let's do the proper formation of our fingers again. And goes through here. And when we look at our needle, there should be 3 loops in there. So 1 right here, 2 and 3. So this is why it's important to have proper formation with your fingers, because if you don't, it makes this very hard to do. So we're just taking it through the first loop. There we go. And I'm going to extend my loops out, so see how big they are. They're fairly large here. And we're going through loop 1 now. And then we need to go through the second loop, which is going to be hard because it looks very tight. So we can just do that. And then finally, we're going to do the last 2 loops, and we should have 1 loop. And now you can see how it's building up, because take it out there. This is what it's starting to look like now.